Okay, the items that you will need in order to tint the lace on a silk closure. Well, these are the items that I use. I need hot water, just about boiling hot but not quite boiling, and then liquid Rit dye in the color of your choice. I occasionally will mix two colors just because the tan tends to have a little red in it, so I'll throw in a little taupe to neutralize the red. I use paper towels because I want to test the color before I actually put the closure in, and then you'll need your silk closure. And I'm using a silk closure that I had that actually, it was made and the density was too light, so I'll go ahead and use it to show you guys. You can see the color of the closure. It's very pale compared to my skin. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a little water. Oh, I'm sorry, another thing you need is a dish to put the water very shallow. I just pour in a little water, enough to just more than cover the bottom of the dish. A little more. And then I'm going to start adding my dye. With the dye, I add a very, very tiny amount at a time because it's always better to be too light than too dark. If it's too light, you can always go a little bit lighter. And I'll literally just put a little drop in there. Let me shake the dye up a little bit too. And swirl it around and see that's very, very translucent in color. I'll put a little drop of taupe. And you can mix your colors however you see fit to match your skin tone. Now, once you have a little in here, the best thing to do is to try to match it to your forehead. Now, I don't have my forehead in the shot, so I'm just going to try to match it to my hand. So I'll take the paper towel and let it sit for just a second in the water. And then put it on my hand and see if that's a good color match. Now, to me, it still looks a little too light. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little more tan. Just a drip drop. And the more concentrated your dye mixture is, the more the color is going to show up on the closure. So if you pour in a lot of dye, your closure is going to be very, very colored. I don't want to say dark, but it's going to be very, very brightly colored, and it may not match. I'm going to do another test strip again. That there actually looks like a really good match. So what I'm going to do while my water is still hot, grab the hair on the closure and gather it all together into the middle of the closure. Gather it like this so that you're holding the hair and nothing is hanging down except for the bottom of the closure. Now I'm going to lay the closure flat into the mixture, push it and make sure it's all the way in there, all sides are in the mixture. I'm going to let it sit for just a second, maybe 30 seconds, and then, well, not even 30 seconds, more like 10 to 15. Dip it a couple of times, and now I'm going to check the scalp to see if it took. Doesn't look like it took, so I'm going to let it sit in there a little bit more, all while holding the hair up so that the hair doesn't get wet. The roots of the hair are going to probably sit in the dye a little bit, but that's okay as long as you're not getting it up onto the strand. So let's shake it off and see if the color came out how I would like it. It still looks very, very light. So I'm going to make the mixture a little more concentrated. I'm actually going to start over because this water here has cooled off some. So I'm going to pour that out and start over. Add a little more water. And this time I'm going to add more dye. And you see it's already a bit darker. I want it to be more concentrated this time. I'm actually adding a lot more because I see that I need a lot more dye to take on the silk. Let's test it. And you see how dark that is? I'm coming to see that it's not going to be that dark once we put the silk in. You just don't want to leave it on too long. And you can see how it did soak in a little, but we need to leave it a little longer. So I'm going to let it sit for just a few seconds this time. I'm still grabbing the hair like I did the last time. Dip 2, 3 times. I'm going to dip it, and then I'm going to check my scalp. Still a little light, so I'm going to let it sit some more. And the idea is to get the color to soak into the silk, and you also want to be careful of the lace surrounding the silk because you don't want that to get too dark either. So let's lift and check again. And it looks like the scalp has a little more color to it. Not enough color for me. Let's go a little bit darker and let it sit a little bit more. And now once you get the color that you desire, go ahead and wash the closure. I wash the closure lace side facing up, the hair hanging down. And I'm just make sure I actually wash it in cold water to allow the color to set in. So let's check it one more time. Looks like we might have a good scalp color. Looks like it's pretty good. So I'm actually going to let it sit for just a couple of minutes here and soak in a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and wash it, and I will be back to show you the finished results. Alright, so here's the finished product after it has air dried. I just let it air dry flat. I'm going to hold it up to my hand so you can actually see the color. It's like the same color as my hand. And this one's actually a little darker than my forehead because I matched it to my hand, which is why I tell you if you're going to color match it to your forehead, because a lot of times the skin on the rest of your body tends to be darker than your face. So, but at least you can see that it is colored. It is tinted. For a lace closure, you would do the same exact process. The only difference is you will not make your mixture as concentrated. You want it to be very heavily diluted. And you also want to match your lace to your forehead. As you can see here, you want your lace to disappear on your skin. You don't want to see it once you hold it up to your skin. That is the color that you need to try to match.